that exceeded all the records, I think, for a municipal bridge built by a private property owner. I don't know what he spent, you know, it was thousands of dollars. Get across those wetlands up here.
My recollection is you got stymied down on Low Run Road. So,
Yes.
what, 10 years ago or so?
For what, for the
Crown property.
for the bridge, yeah.
Yeah.
For the bridge. Yeah.
I think Mr. Byrd raises an excellent point, especially from a planning perspective. And I think these things should be taken into account going forward with projects. I'm going to also add to that that the Alexander Drive is a 30-foot wide road, both by my recollection and by scaling off of the plan that was provided. So we do have a very wide property going there. So.
Is there any other discussion on the street trees? Or we, people wanted to, had asked about the landscaping plan, or is that something that people are still thinking about, or is it settled for you?
Well, no, my concern was, you know, much the same as the Knight subdivision, it does not make sense to cut down mature trees and make them plant trees, but we didn't get it, the landscaping plan wasn't part of it, so we don't know what trees they were planning to keep along the road and what trees they weren't, but as long as you folks are satisfied that, you know, that it would, the existing trees to be kept would meet the street requirements, I don't have any problem with that.
No, it is pretty rural out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty heavily weighted.
Yeah.
Plan show, the plan set does show that the existing tree limit and what areas have to be, should be sheet 2, sheet 3. There's no landscaping plan per se because we're asking for a waiver landscaping since it's wooded. But the plans do show the extent of the trees and the area that would have to be removed, particularly on lot 2 around the bend.
For the site, yeah. Site triangle.
I was pleased to see the plan contained a note. I don't know if your firm added this or if this was from the previous iteration, but it says on the record plan, the existing trees on lots 2 and 3 shall remain to the greatest extent possible. Only the trees required for the construction of the driveway, dwelling, and minimal lawn area, sewage system, stormwater improvements, and well for providing adequate site distances of the driveway shall be removed from the site. Trees at limited disturbed areas will be protected. So they actually did it.
No, I noticed that in the notes, and that's what I said. Like I said, it does not make sense to cut down existing mature trees just to plant the street trees, so that's...
No, as long as what's left is reasonable.
Yeah.
I think that's what that note addresses.
And then that only makes it a lot more attractive and more sellable, and so I think it would, you know, be in the applicant's best interest to keep as many trees as possible.
Yeah, we had a great example of that in the Yerker subdivision up,
Hollow
I
Bush.
think it was
Hollow
yeah,
Bush,
where they really worked around the existing trees and it really enhanced the value of the properties and made for an attractive site.
You can even notice that down here along Crystal and Boulder. You know, was subdivided years ago, but you drive through that now, and the trees that were left, I mean, it looks like the houses have always been there, the trees have always been there, and it just blends so nicely into the neighborhood. It gives a character.
And if you look at the way Mr. Sandberg developed his
Yes.
existing lot, you can see this tree preservation was clearly in favor of Mr. Sandberg.
So are you gonna make these houses as nice as yours?
Somebody wants to buy that.
Okay. So we have waiver requests in items 3, which is the sidewalk, curbs, and storm sewer. 4, which is the street trees, planting. 5, which is the well.
When we modified 5.
Right, so let's start with 5 since that's I'll second what Ernie was recommending, in terms of additional language to be added that the wells must be drilled and certified before building permits issued.
Right, that's,
So I'll second that motion. All in favor?
aye.
With the remaining two items, which would be items 3 and 4, that again, 3 is sidewalks, curbs, 4 is the street trees and plant materials.
I'll move on that.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Great. And the stormwater you still have to work out?
Yes.
So I guess you'll be back here when that gets worked out. Is that right?
It's completely up to this commission.
I'd like to come back and get it worked out.
So we know what's going on.
Yeah.
So you got your waivers were recommended tonight, and then you'll come back for recommendation.
When we get stormwater, there will be a condition on recommendations.
Especially after this year. I'm sorry. After what happened the other Friday night, it was, anybody who was watching the streets around here knows how things quickly, the roads were taken down.
Yeah.
All right. Is there anything else you can do?
Thanks for your time.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Just a quick question, how did you finally resolve the issues of these septic systems on the property? What did you finally come up with that was one of the issues originally with the project we got, right? Wasn't it the type of septic system?
It's proposing, I think I'm gonna jump in here for you guys, they're proposing micro mounds.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's.
And that one,
So that's an allowable system for permitting, it used to be that wasn't allowable for sewage plant. That never challenged, they faced years ago.
Yeah, I remember the discussion, but that was just couldn't remember the specifics.
Yeah, they came to a
Good
work
memory,
session
though.
meeting, I think, with a lot of the, and their engineer. Okay, we did have an item 3, which was a presentation by Warren Jacobs, which we postponed to a later date, primarily because Julia, our county planner, couldn't be here, and that's sort of her area of expertise. It wouldn't make sense to do the presentation without her. So that will occur at a future date, which we haven't figured out, but within the next few months. The last item that we had under our on our agenda for tonight is a discussion of the comprehensive plan, which, as you know, we have embarked on moving forward with. And Julia couldn't be here, but she did give me some handouts.
Just to hand this out to what.
Yeah, we just pass it around. I'll bring it down.
This is the packet for one person.
No, this is a one sheet per person.
Four sheets here, so that's what I'm gonna.
Oh, this is nice. She did a wonderful job.
So she kind of got things started, and the plan is to really jumpstart the process. And the way we're going to organize it is to have a steering committee, and that steering committee is going to do exactly what it implies, which is steer. The steering committee is not necessarily a committee that makes all the decisions about what goes, what's good, what's bad. It's really there to make sure the process keeps moving. All right. I know what Julia has written here perhaps indicates maybe it has a little bit more authority, but the intent here is not to have a group that's dictating how things necessarily get done. It's the group to make sure the process is moving and that we meet our objectives. I've asked 5 people, including myself, typically this falls on the Planning Commission to do these comp plans, to be on the steering committee. We had talked at a previous meeting that the steering committee would meet at 6 o'clock on the same night that the Planning Commission meets. go till 7:30. And then the planning commission will start its meeting, it used to be at 7, will start at 7:30. The 5 people who I asked to be on the steering committee was myself, Crystal Gilchrist, Pam, right, Ernie, and Phil. Again, this is a committee just to make sure this process gets done. It's not a committee that's trying to control what happens with the plan in terms of the content. So the way I see it kind of happening is that we will have a steering committee meeting. It'll be a public meeting from 6 to 7:30. And then we'll probably have an agenda item on every planning commission meeting for the foreseeable future to talk about concepts and things that were discussed as a result of the steering committee meeting. And the way it will probably happen will be that we will have task forces assigned that will actually get individual parts of this project done. Crystal's here tonight, if you have anything to add to that, but a big part of this is really community outreach. How do we get this isn't my plan, this isn't Phil's plan or Ernie's plan or anybody's plan, it's how do we get input from a whole group of people and incorporate that into the plan. So really the intent here is to get this thing moving in January of next year. I think we were okay with meeting on the same night as Planning Commission, and we talked about that back in October. It was okay with that. So unfortunately, Julie could give us more of a fleshing this out a little bit, but I guess the first task is for us to really sit down and figure out, okay, how are we going to attack this? What has to happen? What's the sequence? What are the critical committees or task forces that need to get formed? And then how do we get people on those task forces that represent a broad cross-section of the community? And of course, then we have to decide on how we're going to reach out. If you look at this piece of paper here, there's a couple of places where we are going to try to get broad community feedback. Think of it as a town meeting kind of situation. So that's, in a nutshell, what we're going to try to do and start on in January. Are there any questions about this, or how this is going to happen? I mean, it's a little undefined to me, too, at this point. I think Marla had gotten some books that she left with Kevin, which talk about community planning, right? It's coming up with a community vision statement, but a lot of the concepts that are in that book, which is, again, published by our state, are relevant to the exercise we're going to go through here. So my guess is that what will happen in January is we're going to sit down with Julia, and she's going to sort of outline, okay, these are the steps we need to take, and we are going to go have some back and forth about how to proceed on that. I think for the first few months, we'll probably be pretty busy in that hour-and-a-half session, but then once we get things in motion, hopefully we'll sort of roll along and things will fall into place. An awful lot of these plans have to do with community character and other things, which, to be honest with you, have been written and are in other places and have been developed for this township. Our whole regional plan, that was all been done after the last census. All those data are in there and have been updated, so we have all of those components already pretty well written. So we are benefiting from that exercise that happened a few years ago. So that is the plan. Are there any questions? Any thoughts about how we could?
We're going to be volunteers from the community, right, part of this group.
Right.
So we have to get the word out to them to see who wants to come and volunteer to be part of these groups. Get that out there.
Yeah, go ahead first.
I was thinking as we're talking about this outreach, I think the township used to do a newsletter from time to time. Do we still do that from time to time? We haven't done one in a while, I don't think. the key in getting public input, the key is getting the public input, and it's really kind of difficult, especially in a community. We're not a town necessarily, we're kind of all spread out around the community. And there are a lot of people in the community who have strong feelings about where they want to live, but they're not necessarily involved with the government that's going on in our local government. So reaching those people is a challenge. If we had some kind of a newsletter that we could put out after the beginning of the year, it could serve a lot of purposes for the township, but it could also serve as a platform to kind of announce this effort and this exercise, because it is a strenuous exercise. So that maybe we could invite some people that way. I think also we're going to need to set up some space on our website as kind of an interface to the public who can't come to meetings, but would like to know what's going on and have some way to submit their opinions and thoughts as well. The traffic committee did a small little sample survey along Village Drive, and it had a fairly reasonable response rate as surveys go, but to reach the entire community is going to take a larger effort and probably multiple efforts to get people kind of understanding what's going on and that they can participate.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, what you don't want to have happen is a situation where you're just encouraging a group of people who don't want to see any development to come out and, flood it, and that's not the way. So I agree with you, I'm not exactly sure how to slice that one. Get people other than word of mouth and advertising.
There's going to have to be some outreach effort funded by the township in terms of getting information out to people. Whether it's a survey or a flyer or a newsletter or something to kind of jumpstart the process a little bit.
Didn't Chuck Lightlake indicate that some of those grants that were available could be utilized by the planning commission for outreach?
Right.
So perhaps you may want to touch base with him to see. He was indicating more so, I think, a phone survey, but just being familiar with the residents of Lower Frederick, I don't think phone
I don't think that's limited to Lower Frederick.
Well, I think something paper, because we do have a lot of older members of the community that are not computer savvy. So you can't say just put it on the website.
Can't do one without the other.
Like I say, a lot of them older members of the community, they want to hold something in their hand and read it.
Yeah.
So your idea about a newsletter, perhaps incorporating that into a newsletter. The newsletters that used to go out were...
Do you remember that?
Oh, of course.
Okay.
We had one was sent out maybe 2 years ago. When Tomorrow was still here. And it was a 4-page flyer. It kind of gave an update on what's going on in the township. It also was a very resourceful tool. It gave you a lot of the contact numbers, emergency numbers. I believe there was also contact information about the school districts, things you'd want to know in your community. So it was not only good for existing residents, it was an excellent tool for new residents that moved in the neighborhood that might not know. How do you contact Herkimer Valley School District? How do you contact the zoning officer? How do you contact the kids? So it was a go-to guide, and I think
it's one that you kind of put up on the side of your refrigerator just to...
or keep with the phone book or something. People don't use phone books anymore, so.
That's what holds up the broken table.
Right.
So, you said Brian.
Brian from 11 Ziegler Road. Suggestion. In today's world, as mentioned, we look for information in a totally different direction. We don't like telemarketers. We don't like paper. We don't like a lot of them. Suggestion would be similar signage like you have out here in front of the township building, where you get 2 or 3 other ones and position them in the township. and say, the township needs you, call this number.
Sort of like.
Because, kind of like Uncle Sam is looking for you kind of thing. Don't necessarily tell them what they're looking, but you get interest. You get someone at least to call you. Because I think today, how many pieces of literature you get in the mail and you just go, how many phone calls you see, your caller ID tells you who to call, and you're like, ain't answering that one. You know, I think you're really, I mean, all great ideas, but it's just not how people are reached today. People are just not in that mode anymore. I think if you get it out in front of them in the places where they are, driving in the township or something, I think you're going to maybe get a little bit more. Do we utilize those other? Yeah, but I don't think you're going to get people to answer the phone anymore. You see it come up on your television, you know, it says whoever it is, and they're like, hey, don't for that one. You know, but I think if you get it out in their face, chances are you won't treat them enough to call. And I think you have enough people in the township that exercise their right to come out when there's an issue that is plaguing to them. And if this has to do with the future, you know, maybe for the future of the lower Frederick Township, we need your assistance.
Right.
Something like that, just enough to attract their interest, to get them to make a phone call to, and maybe we set up a Google number that necessarily isn't a township number that they call, and it directs them to a number of things to answer. Maybe it's a questionnaire that is, are you interested in participating in a planning commission?
Right.
Yeah. So technically, you don't even have to have someone manning the phone. It's already doing its own.
Right, well, I mean, we've done the Survey Monkey things.
Yeah, kind of something like that, but it's
not a phone.
via phone.
Right,
So,
we have
just a suggestion. I think you're gonna, more people are gonna see it in the newsletter. Great idea, but I think most people see that as like, oh my gosh, there's another something.
No, there's innovative ways to
I think we
speak to
just-
people's feedback. I was at a meeting last night where, I'll talk about it in a few minutes, but it was this bike Onco, and, you know, some of the employees of the planning commission said, gee, we have this captive audience across the street waiting for jury duty.
Yeah.
They went and they started giving their surveys out, you know, all the people sit in that big room waiting for their names to be called, or hoping their names aren't called. And you know, had them filling out the surveys, and,
Yeah.
you know, got a bunch of them that way.
Other option, we have two big, you know, vendors in town, CVS, Wawa. People go through those areas. Is there something we can get support from them? I know it's obviously corporate questions and stuff like that, but those are places, Motion's train stop. You know, they're more of a family-oriented business that may be more open, writer services, some people like that go through and we can get, you know, the time that,
A lot of times churches also have like community.
anything like that, yeah. St. Mary's is not a big, those kinds of, just so that you get more. I just think doing a newsletter as it is informative, I just don't think all people don't even.
Yeah.
Would, given what you're saying, sorry.
No, that's okay. I'm behind you. I apologize.
If we design a flyer that we could maybe provide to the churches to hand out with the bulletins, to, you know, to put them up at the Wawa, put them up at the CVS. I'm sure the writers would be willing to hand them out, you know, as people come through there. They're very community oriented. Whatever other businesses we have that are fairly local that would serve people who are from our community mostly,